What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Review for Spice and Wolf. This is episode 13, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yeah, so this is the finale for the first core of well of the Spice and Wolf reboot. What's weird is like this episode was technically the first episode of the second season of the original anime. Instead, they made this the the finale episode of the first core. Um, much to this episode, well, it's more like more character development and bonding moments between Lawrence and Holo. Of course, the episode technically takes place after Lawrence ends up paying off his debt, but I guess by smuggling the gold coins alongside Holo and Nora. So they end see I guess they end up celebrating together by having dinner together. But of course, Holo still has some animosity towards Nora. Well, particularly just because like she holds some amounts of jealousy being for Nora being close to Lawrence. Um, but she ends up falling ill. You know, at the dinner table, so Lawrence has to end up taking care of her for at least several days. Of course, much of the episode was just them having a conversation about like I guess like mostly like how Lawrence learned how to uh, treat certain illnesses or whatnot.
Yeah, and we also get some uh, a little bit more about Holo's past, and how she used to travel with humans, and I guess that and the I guess the years she spent in the village being the guardian deity of the crops.
Mhm. Yeah, so, and it's mostly just like reminiscing about her past life, and then of course her recent adventure with Lawrence, and of course some indications that she is developing some amount of feelings for Lawrence as well. Lawrence, also in a way feels the same for Holo, while he's while he's treating for her, and eventually like uh, Holo does end up getting better by the end of the episode, and of course, Nora stops by to pay a visit, and of course, despite Holo's like somewhat animosity towards Nora, she eventually does make amends with her, and of course, share a joke about at Lawrence's expense, and of course, they become friends by the end of the episode.
Yeah, um, yeah. This episode was just really kind of like, yeah, like you said, it was more just character focused on the purely on the interactions of Holo and Lawrence, because there wasn't really a lot going on since Holo was laid up in bed sick. It's just Lawrence like trying to come up with he was well, coming up with things to feed her while she's sick to try to help her get better.
Hmm.
Um, and of course, her just wanting whatever sounds the best to her, which is like I think it was like apples with like it's apples mixed with something else, some kind
Like
of porridge,
it
I
was
guess.
it's more like an apple sauce or apple porridge or something like
Yeah,
that to help her feel better. Um, but yeah, it was a decent episode with Holo and Lawrence interacting with each other. I thought this was done a little bit better uh, than the original series did. I mean, it was a little bit rougher on the edges, obviously back in the original series, but I thought the way this was handled, I thought it was slightly better as well as like how the actors performed their roles for this particular episode.
yeah, because it was just that it was definitely very dialogue heavy with just the two, like, and mostly just being Holo and Lawrence, because the not really any other characters are present in the episode aside from um aside from the shepherd. um but yeah, it's um it was an okay episode. I felt like it wasn't, of course, it's not quite as eventful as the previous episodes, but it's still decent for what it was. Um, if you want more, of course, interaction between Lawrence and Holo, which we already get plenty of, but I guess this episode just more so it shows that how they've developed, how their relationship has developed
Mhm.
since the series started.
Yeah. And of course, there is a post credit scene, which you mentioned you haven't had a chance to watch, but
No,
it,
I
it
didn't. Well, because most of the time, like there isn't actually any post credit scenes, so I didn't think there was going to be one. So I didn't even know there was one.
yeah. So
Um,
the post credit scene is, of course, the conversation between Holo and her daughter, which actually did take place in the prologue sequence from the beginning of this show. It's more or less like a a continuation of Holo's daughter asking her mother if she has any other stories to tell about her recent adventures, and Holo agrees to tell her another story, which will likely pick up by at the start of the second core.
yeah, um, yeah. So I mean, it's a good way to lead into the second core, I guess, is to have that, and to kind of go back to what we saw at the beginning of the series, just having like Holo talking to her daughter. Um, but yeah, I thought it was a decent episode. Like I said, it it's very much just a more so character focused episode with Olo and Lawrence. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about it though. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, it's more or less the same as when I saw it back then. It's a little weird that that they ended up making this like the finale episode of the first core, when it was technically the first episode of the of the second season from the original series. But I thought it was a good way for them to, I guess you could say, end it off at this point of the story, for them to move on into the, I guess, the second core later.
Yeah,
What I'm
and
looking
I
for,
guess just because of like how slow the episode is, it does feel like weird. I guess as a finale, when you consider like what happened the previous episodes, that that felt more so like a finale of the first core than this episode did.
yeah. I mean, I'm still curious of like what of what's going to be adapted in the second core, because we know that the second season of the original series kind of veered off at a certain point. I guess it was more of an anime original ending of sorts. So I still haven't read the light novel series this far into the story. So I don't know like what they're gonna end up showing off or what they're gonna end up telling. But of course, it's gonna be slightly different now that they're going on, that they're faithfully adapting the original story rather than just redoing the story they did from the original anime.
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what the differences are between what happens in the second half of season one as opposed to what happened in the original series.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, guys. So that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.